A very good afternoon. Welcome to the monthly premium lecture series, which happens every month, of course, and it brings on board some of the best minds, some of the best people having the right expertise and leading the fields in different countries, across nations and around the world in different areas, from earth sciences to urban sciences, from electronics to AI and machine learning driven urban governance and different areas of expertise, which is leading the show from around the world. So today we have an extremely learned and extremely experienced person who perhaps needs no introduction. But before I do that, I like to just convey a very special thanks from the patron benefactor of the school, which is Dr. Partha Ghosh. Incidentally, he just reached Boston a few hours back after our huge event which took place in Kolkata, known as Renaissance 2.0. So Dr. Barule, I, and many people on board, we are a part of that. And so he has conveyed his deep and heartfelt thanks to you, sir. And he has asked me to mention a few points that these talks are just not talks, but they are like pointers and apertures and windows for the young generation, because these talks remain as YouTubes for all posterity. And they put on stage and they bring on board some of the top innovation, entrepreneurship, and leadership skills that's possible in a prodigious life of experts like you. And so today we have such a day where we have one on board, Dr. Seetharam, who needs no introduction. I think a small resume on Sir, the esteemed speaker for today, will be forwarded to the gathering by Dr. Shreyash Pramod Varule, Faculty Department of Architecture and Regional Planning. But it's extremely important to say that Dr. Seetharam leads so many organizations and guides so many people around the world, and especially in the Asia Pacific, being the fellow of Asian Development Bank Institute, to the founding directorships of organization in NUS-GAI and IWP-LKYSPP. I think Shreyash will give the elaborate forms of these acronyms. But more than that, Professor Seetharam, who is also a visiting professor at the University of Tokyo, which is by all means the best university of Asia, Prime Minister, most revered Narendra Modi ji, and also all the governance, all the different wings of governance, starting from the Urban Development Department to the Ministry of Culture to the Ministry of Education. Everybody is catering to the vision of Viksit Bharat. But what Sir is going to lead us to is a big question, that how do we lead the Indian mind and the Indian heart in all this? So the combination of the mind, which is the brain, and the heart, which is the seat of emotions and compassion and love, brings the final key to any success that we like to see in the future. So with these words, we welcome you, sir, and I request Dr. Shreyash Barule to say a few kind words of very illustrious and prodigious life that you have led in the last 3 decades or so. Over to Dr. Barule.
Thank you, sir. Professor Seetharam, namaste. I have this distinct honor to introduce the guest speaker today, a global leader at the intersection of infrastructure policy and finance. Not only that, but from rank 4th in India's most elite exam of the country, that is the JEE exam, he is now on the way to advising Japanese engineers on the future of the high-speed rail in our country. Our speaker today is not just a person of great intensity in the sphere of infrastructure, policy, and finance, but he is one of the global architects of Asia's public infrastructure. Okay. With all that, welcome to you, Dr. Seetharam. Going forward, Dr. Seetharam currently serves as a fellow in Asian Development Bank Institute, ADBI, in Tokyo, where he manages strategic partnerships with Gates Foundation. He is also a key advisor to JR East, that's Japan Railway East, guiding the human resource development for one of the most ambitious engineering feats in modern history, that is a high-speed rail project in the largest democracy of the world, that is in India. In academic sphere, he is a visiting professor at University of Tokyo, where his research focuses on mobilizing philanthropy, bringing in private finance to build quality public infrastructure all across Asia. His leadership has been recognized on the world stage as well, where he is an associate member of the Club of Rome and a member of the Advisory Committee on Indian Knowledge Systems to the Capacity Building Commission of Government of India. His previous experiences are also quite storied, which are between 2008 and 2012. He was instrumental in NUS, that is National University of Singapore. While serving as a ADB visiting professor, he was the founding director of Institute of Water Policy in the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy. He was also the director in NUS Global Institute for Global Asia Institute. Okay. His journey began with extraordinary academic foundation, which is BTech from IIT Madras, where he joined in with a rank 4, All India JEE rank 4. He has a master's in engineering from Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand, where he was also the recipient of the President Award. He has a doctorate in engineering, right, that is de-engineering from University of Tokyo, under the guidance of esteemed Professor Hideo Nakamura, who is one of the frontier researchers of that time who researched on high-speed rail in Japan. With that, sir, please join. I request all the team to please join in welcoming Professor Seetharam, a truly visionary leader and a thought leader in engineering and policy. Over to you, Dr. Seetharam. Very warm welcome to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Joy Sen and Professor Shreyas Barule. You can share the slides on my behalf, Shreyas,
yes.
If it's okay. It's a great privilege to be at IIT Kharagpur's online lecture series as the IIT is celebrating 75 years of nation building. Few institutions in the world carry such a powerful historic and moral legacy. I had the honor to visit the campus. I learned at that time that it was born in a Hijli complex, the site once associated with repression and sacrifice, and IIT Kharagpur transformed that memory into capability. That act itself offers a lesson for India today for the Viksit Bharat that we are talking about. Development is not only about infrastructure or income, it's about building institutions that convert history, values, and talent into public purpose. Next slide, please. So today, my talk will be about first IIT Kharagpur. It is the first IIT, and it set the template for technical education in independent India. The vision was ambitious: to create engineers and scientists who would rebuild a young nation and connect it confidently to the world. I recall, and I think it still holds true, that was the first IIT, but also the only IIT which also has a Department of Agriculture, which was very big. I was very pleasantly surprised because the Asian Institute of Technology, where I studied, also had a very large agricultural department. In the University of Tokyo, where I studied again, in fact, it has an exclusive campus for agriculture. So I was very happy that IIT Kharagpur also had an agricultural department. 75 years later, today, the IIT Kharagpur also stands as a living proof that excellence, when combined with responsibility, becomes a development strategy. This IIT's motto, Yoga Karma Kaushalam, that is excellence in action, remains deeply relevant as India moves towards Viksit Bharat. Now, the global standing of IIT Kharagpur is inseparable from the achievements of its alumni. My father was a teacher, and he always mentioned that students are the real assets of an institution. And we can now extend that with a corollary. Alumni become value-added assets. Across technology, industry, entrepreneurship, academia, and public service, IIT Kharagpur alumni have carried the institute's ethos to the whole world. We all know the very famous Sundar Pichai, and his journey from this campus to head the global technology is a significant message. As he noted very recently when he came to India for the AI Summit, the access to education and technology at IIT put him on a path that shaped not only his career and showed that how IITs will only grow in importance in the future. There are many more alumni. We are very grateful that Mr. Partha Ghosh, in addition to his professional achievements, has combined his deep commitment to philanthropy and education, which I'm also passionate about, to show how alumni can help universities continuously renew themselves. Beyond these well-known names, there are thousands of alumni who are quietly shaping cities, infrastructure systems, research institutions, governance frameworks across India. I have met a few of them. Their collective impact is true to the legacy of IIT Kharagpur. At the institution where I worked for many years, the Asian Development Bank, I have met many alumnus of IIT Kharagpur. Next slide, please. Now, my professional lens brings me to water and sanitation and urban development. That's a topic given to me today. These are areas that are often invisible until they fail, yet fundamental to economic productivity and, more importantly, human dignity. Last year, I was invited to give a lecture called the Baldev Raj Memorial Lecture at the National Institute of Advanced Studies in Bangalore. At that time, I first spoke about what urban innovation means for Viksit Bharat. At that time, I proposed 8 Ws. These are words which start with the letter W as a framework: water, waste, walk, work, wealth, women, wisdom, from culture and world society as well as nature. Now, together, these 8 dimensions provide a practical way, in my view, to think about healthy, inclusive, and resilient cities. Let me briefly walk through this to provide the topic for discussion today. Next slide, please. The first 3 Ws are water, waste, and walk. Water, every tap delivering safe drinking water, is not just a comfort. In India, we have become comfortable to drink bottled water or water that we treat with RO facilities. But that may not be sufficient. Every river should become clean enough to swim in. When I was a schoolboy, I could drink the water from the tap. And we all know the immense health benefits of having potable water available at all times. Next slide, please. Waste. Now, we all know that we must move towards zero waste cities where recycling is a norm. The city where I live in Tokyo, you will hardly see dustbins in the public spaces. The concept is take your waste back home. The idea is to encourage people to reuse, recycle, and reduce the waste they create. Next slide, please. Walk. Walkable cities promote health, reduce emission, foster social interaction. When I was a schoolboy, I lived in a small town called Tiruchirappalli. I could walk and complete my full day routine. Go to school, go for shopping, go for cultural interaction, visit temples. I didn't need any motorized vehicle until I went to university or until I traveled somewhere far away. So walkability is not something that we didn't have. We used to have, but urbanization has maybe changed that or even destroyed it. So these 3 are basic, but they are transformative goals: water, waste, and walk. Now, next slide. Next, we can focus on 3 priorities which are important for economy, because urban development is what contributes to the economy. What are these Ws? Work, wealth, and women. We just celebrated the International Women's Day, so I'll come to it at the end. Work. Today, For example, we are having this lecture because of technology. Technology has allowed remote work and it is redefining the way how we live and collaborate. Increasingly, we must design cities that support this flexibility. I will come into more detail later. Wealth creation. Cities create wealth not only for the people, but for the entire economy. Many cities create far more wealth than what the rest of the economy is able to produce. True wealth lies in giving back to the societies. Next slide. So real world experiences unlock solutions that governments alone cannot provide. We talked about the cultural and the individual priorities. Next slide. When enough becomes more than more, we can achieve the balance. Now let me talk about the role of women. Empowering women is not just one of the things we do, it is essential. Equal opportunity, safety, representation, all of this must be the heart of urban policy. Cities where women can walk safely, work safely, and live safely is what will give far more productivity. I'm very delighted that the Indian cities are moving in that direction. Next slide, please. Let me now mention the last two W's, which are about wisdom coming from society's cultural tradition. Our cultures in Asia, India, China, Japan, all these carry deep wisdom. They teach us how to live in harmony and adapt with dignity. Next slide, please. The wisdom in nurturing nature is not that nature is just treated as one more resource. Nature can be our teacher. We can care for nature and then we can care for ourselves. Next slide, please. So in this, we should look at the frugality. Frugality is intelligent restraint, not poverty. It drives sustainability beyond GDP. Next slide. Philanthropy channels wealth into shared capacity, making frugality sustainable. Together, they form ethical foundation for future growth. So while in cities we make more wealth, we also need to learn to live frugal in terms of not wasting, in terms of conserving resources, by walking more and all of these. So when enough becomes more than more, we achieve balance. This philosophy must guide our policies and personal choices. Next slide. At the G20, our Shreyas, I think you should move to slide 18. Please move. Thank you. India's mission life, next slide. Yeah. India's mission life demonstrates how behavioral change can reduce emissions by 20% and save billions. Imagine two futures, one where we act decisively, and another where we delay. The difference will define the well-being of billions. Collective action is more powerful, and it's very important in these fluid situation of the global world economy and political situations. Next slide. This is where the IIT Kharagpur comes, and universities in general. Universities must lead through integrated programs, applied research, and community engagement. Universities are the incubators of ideas and ethics. Real-world experience and innovation will nurture next-generation leaders who can be committed to resilience and equity. I'm a beneficiary of such education, and I've studied on scholarships all through my life. So next slide. When we look at cities, these are at the heart of today's global challenges and opportunities. Dr. Shreyas Barule and I prepared an edited volume that highlights how population growth and urban concentration drive both climate risks and pandemic vulnerabilities. To build resilient cities, we must promote education, gender inclusion, and smart urban planning. The pandemic taught us the value of green spaces, digital mobility, and strong local governance. Now, spatial models like rural-urban communities, multi-core cities can balance urban and rural strength. This book is available for free download. You can see the chapters in the book for more details. Next slide. Let me now come back to the 8 W's. They are not just a framework, they are a way forward and a way to build cities that are smart, soulful, efficient, and equitable, more importantly, modern and mindful. Next slide. I now return to my passionate topic. Can you click on the animation? Go to point 4. Yeah, thank you. Among the various things that I mentioned in the 8 Ws, to me, water and waste are foundational. Cities cannot be productive if they cannot deliver safe water, manage sanitation, and protect their ecosystems. There is a strongly reinforced by the messages in the Asian Water Development Outlook. The Asian Water Development Outlook highlights a remarkable achievement. Since 2013, please go to next slide. 2.7 billion people in Asia and Pacific have moved out of extreme water insecurity. This report also warns that these gains are fragile. Environmental degradation, climate-related disasters, and a massive financing gap threaten to reverse progress. The report estimates that the region will require nearly $4 trillion in water, sanitation, and hygiene investments through 2040. Next slide, please. Equally concerning is the fact that 80% of wastewater in the region is discharged untreated. This statistic is not merely technical, it reflects the chronic weakness in urban service delivery, sanitation planning, and more importantly, institutional capacity. Poor sanitation undermines health outcomes, polluted rivers and groundwater, and disproportionately affects women and urban poor. In other words, water and sanitation failures erode every other W in the 8 Ws framework that I just shared. This is why evidence must be translated into action. Next slide, please. Keep it at point 5. Yeah. Financing is an important critical piece. In the Water Development Outlook, we talk about the financing gap, and we worked with the Gates Foundation and show how catalytic financing can unlock and make impact for a big scale. With cumulative contributions of over $27 million, the fund has leveraged more than $1.6 billion in multilateral funded, ADB funded projects for sanitation all around Asia. I was deeply honored to visit IIT Kharagpur to commemorate the Center on Water in 2010. For me, this center represents the future role of universities in India, integrating engineering excellence with policy insight and practical management. Water is not just a technical variable, it sits in the intersection of urban development, climate resilience, public health, and social equity. In my view, IIT Kharagpur is uniquely positioned to train the next generation of system builders, engineers who understand institutions, planners who understand technology, and leaders who understand public value. Next slide, please. As we move towards Viksit Bharat, I believe that institutions like IIT can play a catalytic role as platforms for innovation, evidence, and leadership. They must help cities design resilient infrastructure, manage water and sanitation sustainably, and align growth with equity and culture. Anchored in history, yet oriented to the future, IIT Kharagpur's contribution may still lie ahead. I would like to congratulate IIT Kharagpur on the 75 years of excellence. May the next quarter century deepen its role as a builder of institutions, cities, and ideas for India and for the whole world. I will stop here. Thank you very much, Dr. Barule and Professor Joyce Sen.
So it was really, I think we need to learn 3 things from you as students of planning, governance, design, and everything. First, maintaining such excellent time. And I think much more important than that, how clear the slides are, how simple and how beautifully they're organized. And third and not the least, is how excellent, are your deliberations, your articulations and your placements of facts and figures on board. Absolutely fantastic. I think the presentation itself is a token of leadership, and it leads the ways for faculties, scholars, and youngsters to see, know, and learn how things should be delivered on board. It's absolutely fantastic. I think Shreyash will agree with me. I'll just initiate the whole session with 2 or 3 observations, because I don't have the courage to ask you questions. Yeah, the first one is that I was very impressed, sir, with your connection between the initial foundations of IIT Kharagpur, built on the second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which is Yoga Karmashu Koshalam, which, nobody reads the whole sloka. We just take out that small phrase. But that whole Yoga Karmashu Koshalam is actually a holistic policy of bringing the dialectics in the world to a dialogical platform, so that, the very good things in the world with not so good things in the world, they come together and they form a teamwork to lead us to a higher level of escalation. That's exactly what that sloka is saying, because I was always intrigued by why it's written Yoga Karmashu Koshalam. And I think after a long time, and perhaps for the first time, I could see the connect between Yoga Karmashu Koshalam and the flower which is going to flourish in 2047 with Viksit Bharat. In Bengali we call it Bikoshito, so that so it's manifested, it's evident, and it's centripetal with all its centrifugal and centripetal. So it has a centrality, centripetality, and it also has a centrifugality, dissemination all over the world. I'd like to hear a little more on this for you, perhaps a few lines, that how, as a global leader of urban planning governance, you like to advise Indian institutes, IIT Kharagpur being one of many, so that we are able to connect the deep excellence, the koshalam that we need to achieve in our work processes, the kriyas of work, so that India blooms as a huge flower in 2047. What will be your 2 or 3, very important offerings to us as students? Yeah.
Well, what I learned is India blooming can have many meanings. Now we are looking at economic blooming. That means wealth being created. But as educators, we know that wealth needs to be translated into health and also needs to be translated into educational attainment so that it can be sustainable, right? We want to be healthy and then we want to be educated. So having wealth needs to be adequately supported by education and also by health. Now, for that, the central piece, as I learned from my work and experience, is that water and sanitation. The cities which became successful, or city-states which became successful, I lived in Singapore, now I live in Tokyo, they all worked on this. Tokyo worked on it almost 50 years ago. After the war, they first fixed water and sanitation, and it has given them very good dividends. And more recently, that's a story of Singapore. They also worked very sincerely on water and sanitation, and it provided them the journey from the third world to the first world. And very recently, Metro Manila did the same. When they had challenges with water and sanitation, they went on a war footing to really make the tap water portable. So I feel that this is not only doable, it is kind of a requirement. The dividends are far higher. And so working on that is the first message. And technology campuses can demonstrate by making the campus portable. Can we make the entire campus water system portable? That means you don't buy bottled water, you don't have faucet treatment, which are unnecessary. I mean, we are the high technology campus, so if we should know how to fix this problem, right? So I've challenged many of the residential campuses to first show as a demonstration the campuses to become water and sanitation world class. When we do that, we get a new kind of confidence because it really translates into health. And health comes now, the second part is the walkability, right? So if we can make the campus, of course, I know IIT Kharagpur is a very large campus. So how to make the campus walk friendly? I mean, so that's the kind of next level. That's what I have asked many of the campuses. So we try to explain that world cities want to be walkable, which means that in a walking distance, we should have many of the amenities available. It's not that we just go for a walk, but all things must be connected, and it's weatherproof, and shades are there, shelter are there. So it gives a new idea for the urban planning. Then comes the most important part, which is the value of time, right? So one of the big challenges of the urban centers all around the world, so developing Asia is not only new to that, is we all have the same 24 hours, but we spend a lot of time commuting, or rather wasting to travel from one place to another because of traffic congestion, right? And it's not very enjoyable. How to improve the efficiency of the transport? And that's what we are all working on, various types of public transport, private transport, motorized vehicle, non-motorized vehicle. Now, all cities go through this. Then comes together with that is the air pollution that accompanies, because we're using motorized vehicle and we're using fossil fuel. But I think we have come a long way because of the ability to do remote work. We can do a lot of avoidable travel we can avoid. We also have e-commerce, which can also reduce a lot of travel. So we have a lot of choices that has come in our way compared to 10 years ago or 20 years ago. We have got technology which makes travel less required for the economic activity. So I think we should need a new thinking of all these. This is what I thought would be very nice to not only research, but actually show by demonstration that what I found out is the campus is, of course, a center of excellence, a place for learning, but it can also be a lifestyle, learning experience where we acquire some habits by living a life which is a new way of living or a good way of living, and that can really leave a deep impression of the young mind. So when they go and they go around, then they can try to implement or foster the same kind of lifestyle. That's what I felt during my own academic journey and living in the hostels and the campuses and so on.
Thank you so much, sir. I'll just take what you said, so beautifully. Just maybe a second round of small question on that, because if my little experience in different city planning tasks, because I was in the industry for about 11 years before I came to academics, and we did one project on Kolkata, which was a DFID UK, Government of UK funded project. But coming straight to the point is that in this huge experience where I was the youngest in the team, and they're all experienced people from different engineering organizations from England and from Hong Kong and other places, what I felt, and then I felt for the first time that when you look at water, which you said, the inputs into the city and the waste water and other things, the sewage and the sewerage and the different other things going out. And when we looked at Kolkata, it was revealed that there are different clashes, which are probably products of history, and the city has not been handled properly. When the British left and the new governance of Free India took over, the focus was somewhere else. And it is just now, I think, it is just beginning in the case of Kolkata, where we are trying to separate systems and look at things very cleanly. But I really got excited when you finally said, we need a new thinking. We need a new thinking, and this is so important. And this new thinking is not an either or. It's actually perhaps a paradigm expansion and a paradigm in depth of going into what we did before. So, sir, do you think this new thinking is like one big homogeneous prescription, especially for the Asian countries, or within that we should have a bit of heterogeneity based on one city to the next city? Like if we take the case of Kolkata, it's mostly a linear ribbon, urban agglomeration, conurbation kind of development. And the city is still growing like a bulb, especially in the south. Whereas if you go to Delhi, which you know so well, it's more of a radial, and it's becoming so large that it has become a urban rural region. That's a national capital region. So what is your gift to us, as a very senior planner, economist, and also a policy maker? I mean, what should we do, say at IIT Kharagpur in the Department of Architecture and Regional Planning 1, and then we have a School of Infrastructure Design and Management, which is 2, and the department which you visited almost about 15 years back, which is a School of Water Resources, which has also expanded with the Center of Oceans, Rivers, Atmospheres, and other attributes of Mother Nature, which actually takes us to the water cycle, the much larger understanding of things. So what is your pointer or advice to a relatively older institute like IIT Kharagpur, what we should do to garner the new thinking process?
I have been thinking about this for quite some time. I felt that, and I'm connecting it with where I live right now in Japan. There are two dimensions to the city, what I learned. One is the physical planning that connects with the history of that particular city.
Right.
Then there is an infrastructure planning that works on the economic priorities of that city. Cities earn wealth for us, but it should not be at the cost of destroying the culture and the history. Similarly, culture and history needs to be preserved, but if it doesn't make economic sense, it is not providing the value of your time. It is just a nice place, but it doesn't make sense. So what is important is that to see the balance between the two, but it cannot be a mental model. So what I learned is that we need to have, I was asking Shreyas in the weekend, can we look at the past 20 years? Now that we have data, satellite imagery data, we have data from mobile phones, using such digital data, can we look at how the city has progressed? And we can use simple variables, the density, how the densification is taking place. Then another very important variable which we all pay attention to is just travel time, right? We all now are able to understand the Google Maps use, but we use it more as a user. What has happened is there are two parts to travel time, right? One is that it takes more time. That we kind of start to accept, although we don't always like it. So, but because of Google Map, we kind of know the predicted time. Earlier, before Google Map, we didn't know if I leave a particular place to reach another place, I don't know how long it will take because I don't know the expected traffic. But now, because of Google Map, I have a kind of an estimated travel time. So I prepare my time to leave so that I can still arrive on time. So we want to arrive punctually on time. So we adjust our departure time. But what successful cities have done is that travel time remains not only just predictable, it will be same whether you leave at 8 a.m. in the morning or 10 a.m. later during the peak work hours, which is what public transport provides, right? Where if you have a metro, all of that, they all will leave. They can be very punctual. It's the car, private road-based travel is what is subject to congestion, right? Whereas the public transport will be crowded, but it'll be punctual. Now, this is the combination, right? Do you want to be punctual or do you want to be comfortable? Now, of course, the people will make choices. Now, this is what I think Indian cities have not yet enjoyed. We still are in the era of catching up with the problem, but we have not come to a level where we have created excess capacity. We are still meeting the challenges of, capacity far less than the demand. Everything is very congested. Every new infrastructure you create is fully utilized immediately by the time utilized. So we don't have excess capacity to actually ease out the challenges. Now, this is where we need to become creative as policy makers. So we need to look at it from that lens. How do I create? Now, some people think that, oh, I will create the city to grow horizontally. I will convert more of non-urban or farmland to become urban areas. You're solving the problem, but maybe you're just expanding the problem. So we need to, that's where again I say that we need to have a computer model or a simulation which actually guides us to look at the consequences of choices we make to solve today's problem. So I feel that without that, we may be poorly guided, or we may be making some sincere choices only to discover that that did not provide the real answer. Now, these are not like sermons. Many cities have gone through these challenges. So it's good to actually learn from the cities which have gone through these challenges. And then we can place, that's the advantage we have as a Viksit Bharat. We are still a young nation going towards economic development. We can nicely pick up from the journeys of cities in other countries which have gone through this maybe 20 years ago or 40 years ago, and then we can fill up and create new scenarios which can help us jump and solve the problems more cleverly. And that is what I feel would be a very good contribution coming from IIT Kharagpur. We can maybe, I don't know if you already have, you can adopt a few cities or small zones within cities and actually really try to solve some of these problems so they can have first-class lifestyle where all the 8 Ws that I spoke about is fully addressed and people are able to have a very successful, productive lifestyle and really utilize the 24 hours every day. So that may be a way to look at rather than trying to make a generic prescription, and we can come up with a laboratory of solutions which address all aspects, and it's more the method of doing rather than a prescription. The ideas may be similar, but the workout of the solution may be different for different cities. That's fine, but we can learn from each other. The toolkit may be uniform, but the way to apply it and the levers may be different depending on the context, depending on the interest, but it will be a wonderful journey to compare and contrast. I was suggesting to Shreyas also, like, what are the top, I don't know, 20 or 40 cities in India? We have a lot of number, but can we say that, okay, not by the economic activity, where we can solve these problems sooner than later? That may be a good way to look at, right? So it may be difficult to solve the problem of a large city because that takes a lot of effort, but we can at least help some of the nice cities which are not yet falling into the trap to avoid falling into the trap. So we can create those kind of environments so that they can be very livable and comfortable, and then we can celebrate that. So that may be another way to look at the problem solving so that we can jump, which is what I feel would be a good way to look at. I think China did actually that. They listed more than hundreds of such cities where they wanted the cities to have local development plans so that there will be many more such cities. The large cities are a different challenge. But there are the smaller towns, which may be also very good for us to look at as examples, because we are a very large country with a very large population.
Thank you so much, sir. I mean, there was so much richness and pointers in what you just said. If I just make 3 pairs of observations from your side, I think you started with a very, very simple but a very complex framework of interlaying, overlaying, the physical planning matrix of the city with the history, and overlaid with the changing matrix, which is economics and infrastructure of the city. And so which becomes the chicken and which becomes the egg. I mean, sometimes I think we need to reverse the demand and supply relationship and see it from a different angle, like a mirror. That was really I think, Shreyash, we have to note that for the next few years, when you become a average aged faculty professor in the department and you take more advice from sir, I may be joining your club of leadership. I think the second thing which you said so well is the generic theories of prescription, but a more specific application model from city to city. And the third thing, which is very important, I think, which any futuristic lab, urban engineering and regional science lab can take up, is to take up the next for the next 20 years, the top 20 and the next 20 cities of India, and see where they are with regard to what we just said. So I think in another go, you just gave us the action plans that we probably can take up as a project or see it as a semantics of the lab that we propose to do, or in some collaboration which we need to propose with other universities in the world, like AIT Bangkok or University of Tokyo, or with University of Melbourne or University of Hong Kong and things like that. So I think it's very important. And before I ask Shreyash to ask one or two last questions, I just have a different kind of a question, because that's what tickles me a little more, because I really like the 7 or the 8 W's of progression, the first 3 and the next 3. And when we finally came to the 7th and the 8th one, I could see 2 of that. So and I've always felt that to be a very comfortable zone, and also a zone of high level of discomfort, because I've dealt with normative and value-added behavioral prescriptions of planning and architectural history. And I could see I've created problems more than solutions of explanations. And then what I found out, Dr. Seetharam, is that I saw there are 2 kinds of wisdom. There is one wisdom, which is a very deep wisdom. It's like high up in the clouds, and they have to remain there, as a yardstick. But then there is a need of a working wisdom, which is at the level of the common man, at the grassroots level. Shreyash knows. In fact, Shreyash is a partner to me in that sense. In especially the last 10, 12, 15 years, I've been specially working on the second side to bring down things to simple, vocabularies. I won't call them algorithms. I think they are not that, but simple equations of seeing things at a very simple, basic level, so that people in general, and say planners and architects and designers per se, in specificity, need to understand these wisdoms as working principles and as what we call working wisdom. In fact, I was not aware of this even like 3-4 years back. And a lot of my good students, like Shreyash and like Jeslu, I was talking about her, Sunny, who is in Ahmedabad, and many more. So I have discussed this quite often with them. I think in your deliberations, which is a gathering of last 30 years of experience, prodigy, and knowledge, and so much of cross-cutting across world-class institutions and associations, I think this 8 W's that you have is a fallout of that. Do you want to add a bit of richness to our humble observations? These 2 levels of wisdoms. Finally, it's like a thing in parallel, working, and it's like electrical circuits. So one thing comes from the top and one thing comes from the bottom, and we can see a circuit breaker and also a circuit connector. Yeah, also a circuit connector. So we can see things and transfer, and we build a basic data information lower stratum of knowledge to a more knowledge and knowledge systems kind of things in the upper stratum. And we need to plug in more and more clarity at the intermediate level, I think there we really have a dearth and a paucity of planning and architectural and design vocabularies. So what's your take on that? And this is my last question. Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's a very nice reaction to the 8 W's. I'm happy that you reacted to it. So in the last 2 points, yes, the W's are thought about in this way that I've learned that cities are like human beings. They also have a 70-year life in a way, but they regenerate, like how human beings in Asian cultures, we believe in several lives, right? Not just one physical human life, but human birth is one of the many lives. We are not always destined to be born as a human being. So cities are also like that. So left to itself, like human life, the cities also will decay, like how human life. We grow and then we decay. So that's where the world cultures come in. The cultural heritage of a city or a country, it actually outlives the individuals, right? We have all these, that's why all these monuments, all of those things, those are all like outliving the people. The second part is exactly what you said. There is a ground truth, which is nature. We're all part of nature, and nature is actually helping us, but it's also the one that guides or regulates us in a way, right? We have no control about where the rain will fall and how much the rain will fall. We can keep estimating, predicting it, but until it happens, we have no idea, because that's something we can say, yeah, yesterday it happened, today it's likely to happen, but it will be still a forecast.
Yeah.
Until it happens, it is never possible. No one has ever come to say, I will make it rain here. Yes, I know some people can do some little bit of experiments to create artificial rain, artificial snow, but those are all not easy to do and not replicable. So I found out that if we understand something like the laws of nature, nature actually practices frugality, and nature teaches us regularly. So that's where we come to the reality work, that if we learn to live not only in harmony with nature, but nurture the nature, that means work as part of nature rather than confronting nature. So pollution is not natural, actually. So if we know how to use water without polluting, we are better. If we know how to use nature without wasting, we are part of nature. So that kind of aspect is what I felt we should connect. And that's what really creates our efficiency and quality of life. And that was connecting to the first two W's. In the second three W's, the women, nature is feminine, right? We call Mother Nature. So that has the ability to create, but also to nurture, right? That's why we are all born and we are surviving because of a feminine nature, a mother who gave birth and who nurtured us. So I feel that we should not forget that role that we have to play as individuals. We have to play that feminine role in society to be a part of nurture. Educational institutions have that role because we are creating next generation leaders by giving them knowledge, by nurturing them. But there's also a soft aspect, something about the personality and character and development of the mind. It's not just technical knowledge. It's about feeling and having compassion and to serve people. Those are not materially quantifiable, but they help a lot as the person grows older and becomes higher in society. I think though the ethos is what will drive. So that's what I feel is the important role for cities. Cities create a lot of innovation. So when it comes to innovation, we solve real world problem, but we should not forget the human aspect of it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I think it was so much richness in this. I think we'll have another round of discussion somewhere, perhaps very soon. We'll leave it to Mother Nature to take care of the processes and the successes. I think with this, I'll have the immense pleasure to give it to Dr. Shreyash Barule to ask the last one or two questions. And then with that, we can close the session because, sir, you also have many other things after this meeting, which we are aware of. Yeah.
So, asking a question to Seetharam sir is extremely difficult because his answers are so well contained and rounded that creating a question out of it is so difficult. But still, I'll make an attempt. I would like to ask you, sir, on that point of view of frugality, which you mentioned in your presentation. Particularly, I noticed the two kanjis, kose, the symbiosis that we have as a concept in Japan. So you just mentioned in your previous response that there is an idea of symbiosis. All W's link with each other, and it's ultimately making a contained loop, and it is networked as well, right? So quite much working as a complete system. So with the point of view of your frugality, the idea of frugality, could you give some examples from cities where cities have, from your experience as well as the exposure that you have had, where cities have actually used the idea of frugality and leapfrog some of the issues which they are facing in the past, and from where we could learn, from where India could learn a lot more.
See, people come to cities to earn more money, which is normal rural-urban migration. We all study that. But where we forget is that the life in the rural area looks poor, but it's not bad, actually. It's just that we haven't appreciated it from the larger perspective. Maybe there's better water, there's maybe better air quality, there's maybe better greenery, maybe better mental health, but there's not money. Of course, we need money to buy food, to have education, to have health. So that's why people come to work. So that's a play of this having money available versus quality of life. Now, where we should be careful is that, yes, people should work and to earn money. But if you look at any of the urban centers, they don't grow food. I don't think any city is able to grow food. So you rely on somebody else cooking or growing the food. Leave cooking first, growing the food for you. So so that attitude of gratitude towards that is the starting point. Now comes to frugality. Because we're creating extra wealth in the cities, there's a temptation to consume more. Now, if that comes in, then it creates a self-propelling, what we may call it as greed, that having more means better. Actually, that may be the starting point of the problem. I have a data which shows, which is what I've showed in the G20 live report, that maybe we are producing far more food than actually we are all able to eat. We're just wasting them because of the way of the consumer market system. We are not eating as per the season cycle. We are just agnostic to that, right? You want the same orange or a juice or anything to be on the table throughout the year. But actually the food is seasonal. It's not growing all the time. Whereas in the rural areas, we'll be eating seasonal food because it will be according to the time of the year, and we accept it. Actually, human body is like that. Human body behaves differently according to the weather and the seasons. We've kind of forgotten that because we've got artificial heating, artificial lighting. So we're kind of not realizing that there is a consequence of this. So frugality comes from this awareness that we as a human being need to live as part of nature. Then comes the thinking that we can live in a city, yes, we can make wealth, but wealth for what? Is it for consuming for ourselves or to contribute to society? It is both in a way, right? So if we learn to live in a frugal way, we will become more able to contribute to society, because in the cities you can make wealth, but it cannot be at the cost of ignoring our responsibility to society. Yes, some people say I pay taxes. That's true. So we can pay taxes, but there's a lot more in the lifestyle as well. So all of these are the concepts. I felt that the frugality is not just a statement that you just donate back. It's a way we live, because the educated people, you can be a good example and giving message to the next generation as well, right?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think the balance that you mentioned, that yes, it has to be a closed, not only a closed loop, but understanding of the closed loop in the sense that gratitude gets some space to exist in that complete idea of existence as well. So one of my the last question that I have, sir, is of the thing that comes also from my little experience working in Japan and then coming back to work in India as well. So with every aspect, or in fact, with every W, I think there are two attachments which are there, which is one is the tangible aspect and one is the intangible aspect, right? Not all are aware of the intangible aspect, right? So for the intangibles, particularly, I have a question particularly focused on that. So for the young leaders whom we have, like at Partha School as well, and I'm also delighted to share with you that one of the slides deeply resonates with us, which is the ethos of giving, which is the balance between West and the East. That is what Partha School is working on as well. So on that aspect, for the young leaders, how do the young leaders work or operate or plan at this particular point in time for their career when new infrastructure, which is of course tangible, we have seen a lot of videos, we have experienced it through different medium, like high-speed rail or new metros and RRTS. What should our young leaders do in this point in time to understand that intangible aspects of them also exist and then work on them so that we assimilate and have some gratitude towards this new infrastructure that is coming so that we preserve it better?
Thank you for bringing this. In fact, a lot of these large infrastructure are intergenerational. Again, this is not new. 1,000 years ago, when the kings and the rulers of India built all these dams and water reservoirs, often it was across several generations of the kings, because in those days they didn't live very long. It maybe took 100 years to build it. So maybe 3 kings built it, one after the other. And so today we are having the same challenge, that many of the large infrastructure projects will be intergenerational. For example, Calcutta, I know for many years has been building the metro system. It has been improving the water systems. Delhi has been doing so for 20 plus years. So it will take a full 20 to 30 years to complete the entire network for the full benefits to be realized. Now, the challenge for young people is to appreciate this long-term process and to believe that this can be done and this should be done, and have the commitment to support the various government initiatives, as also be part of the system to embrace the change, because it will be good for the long term. Now, if we are not able to do so, we'll be like having temporary answers which does not solve the larger problem, which is what we are seeing in the real situation. And I think this communication is very good and important to convey in a very simple way, not only among bureaucrats and elite scholars like yourselves here, but even to young people. You know, a school child should know the frugality and the simple way of saving water and keeping the water clean. A school child should know the importance of having footpath clean and to be safe to walk, so that when that school child, one of them becomes a leader, they continue to say that, yeah, I know it's important. So many of the developed countries bring that awareness at very young age, so that across generations we'll continue to maintain or foster these values. Some of these values or habits are shaped actually when somebody is young, like not throwing garbage, caring for public infrastructure. All these cannot be taught to only adults. They should be taught to young people. So campus can be a very good transformational quotient. So you have a beautiful campus. The campus, in my view, can be a laboratory where we show high quality living and also civic responsibility and ownership for the public infrastructure. And I think that can go a long way to build long-term public infrastructure. The construction of infrastructure is actually a small part of the problem. It's a successful operation and maintenance, which is what is a bigger challenge. For which we need a lot of cooperation from the citizens, who are not only just users, they are customers. So they need to be customer responsible, to contribute, to use it very responsibly. And that appreciation and awareness is a continuous game. It's not a one-time work. And I think if we bring that, we will all be very successful. So which is what I feel should be very nicely brought about for next generation leaders, to feel responsible and to see that, yeah, can-do attitude. There's a kind of a can-do attitude, and also celebrate that it takes many years and sometimes across generations. So each of us, we do our bit. So I hope that the national network of high-speed rail for India will be a reality, and all of you will celebrate when it will happen. And it should happen sooner. We don't have to wait until 2047. The sooner we do it, the Viksit Bharat will be more a reality, right? And we should have that achieved, safe drinking water in all the taps, not just few cities, all over the country. If we do that, that will be even more an assuring success for Viksit Bharat. So all these are doable, and we don't need to wait for somebody to tell how to do. We can use the existing knowledge to march forward. And every city, every small center where we achieve it, I think we are contributing to the success. That is what I think young people can look forward to.
Thank you so much, sir. Over to Professor Sen.
Yeah, I think, sir, today your talk has been that of a celebration. I think the whole onus, the whole paradigm is to transform from a do it, we can do it, we should do it scenario kind of a thing to a scenario where we take maintenance, operation, and ownership, and everything which is associated with it as an urban and regional celebration of our citizens. And I think one of the most important thing that we need to do is to trickle it down to the youngest generations. I think a lot of school science, home science, and inter-institutional science between the schools and the homes, and the homes and the schools. That's in a very small way, we are trying to initiate such a program with the School of Leadership. And as Shreyash rightly said, one of our very important motto is to find out this mysterious leadership interaction or relationship between doing a little thing in a very nice way, but not caring about other systems, which is reductionism. And then the other thing, which looking at the whole nature in a beautiful way, but when it comes to little things, we are not doing it very well, and we call it holism. So I think we need a bit of both in our overall humanity. And I think Japan is one country, as pointed out by great leaders of our nation like Gurudev, Rabindranath Tagore, Swami Vivekananda. I think many, Mother Mira Alfaza, they'd all been to Japan, and they mentioned this connection in some way exists in the Japanese society. And it's I think it was always there as a part of the Asian culture, but I think in the rolling of time and histories and micro invasions and a lot of other disturbances, we somehow lost it in the run of time. So I think today's your deliberation was not a deliberation. I'm not calling it a sermon. I think it was a celebration of humane thoughts, which will make a planner, a good planner to an extremely good planner, and finally a very good, responsible human being. That is a take home from your wonderful talk today. So I think with this, seeking permission from you and others who are all here, we may close today's session. And we all wish, on behalf of IIT Kharagpur, which is celebrating its 75th year, the Platinum Jubilee celebration, we wish you extremely self-health, good health, and all prosperity in the years and the decades to come, so that your contribution in governance, in planning, in city administrations, in infrastructure projects across nations become much more prominent, visible, and evident to all of us. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah.
Thank you so much for inviting me today. It was a pleasure joining you all.
Yeah.
I'll be very happy to interact with any of your audience who watch this lecture and discussion later. If they have any questions, they can write to Shreyas, and I will be very happy to interact with them and provide my views and inputs. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shreyas.